At number 1, we have the 8 Trey Gangster Crips and 9-way gang indictment.
2 rappers, including Sheff G, now under indictment for gang violence that terrorized neighborhoods in Central and South Brooklyn.
Williams is just one of 32 people charged with various counts of murder, attempted murder, conspiracy, and assault in an investigation that goes back nearly 3 years.
These are subjects that woke up and lived every single day with one objective, and that was to benefit the gang, gain clout for the gang.
As rapper Sheff G, Williams was a pioneer in what's known as drill, a dark, particularly aggressive genre of hip-hop that critics say glorifies gang violence and retribution. His videos have been viewed hundreds of millions of times. Among those charged is Williams' protege, T-Gan Chambers, known as Sleepy Hollow. Yet despite his fame and fortune, or perhaps because of it, investigators say Williams was willing to risk everything.
Brooklyn-based rapper Michael Williams, more popularly known by his stage name Sheff G, has been implicated in a series of violent incidents that have rocked the borough. Alongside Williams, 31 other individuals have been charged, with the crimes resulting in the tragic death of 1 individual and injuries to 12 others. The individuals charged are believed to be members of the notorious 8 Trey Crips gang and its affiliate, the 9 Ways gang. Their alleged criminal activities span a range of offenses, from shootings and firearm possession to using stolen vehicles in their operations. These acts were primarily targeted at rival gang members, notably from groups such as the Folk Nation Gangster Disciples and ICG Babies. The indictment, which is extensive, encompasses 27 violent incidents, of which 12 are shootings. Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez has shed light on Williams aka Sheff G dual life. While on one hand, he was a successful rapper, on the other, he allegedly used the proceeds from his music career to further the violent objectives of his gang. There are claims that Sheff G incentivized violence by offering monetary rewards and lavish jewelry to those who carried out violent acts on behalf of the gang. One of the most harrowing incidents detailed in the indictment is a mass shooting that occurred on October 21, 2020. Surveillance footage captured Commander Dekatu, one of the accused, firing indiscriminately from a vehicle. This act resulted in the death of Theodore Sr., a rival gang member, and injuries to 5 other individuals. In the aftermath of this tragic event, Sheff G alleged to have hosted a celebratory dinner in Manhattan, marking the death of Sr. and the injuries sustained by the other victims. Dekatu now faces murder charges for his role in the incident. Meanwhile, other members, including Williams and his sister, Crystal Williams, have been slapped with charges of conspiracy to commit murder. During a press briefing, the district attorney underscored the significant role played by Sheff G within the gang's hierarchy. He also highlighted the rapper's alleged misuse of his music earnings to perpetuate and escalate gang-related violence in Brooklyn.
4 suspected Roanoke gang members are off the streets after a lengthy investigation by the Central Virginia Violent Crimes Task Force.
I am grateful for the dedication and cooperation of our various federal, state, and local law enforcement partners in bringing these violent gang members to justice.
The 4 men arrested are believed to be part of the Rollin' 30s Crips gang, a national gang that has taken up residence in Roanoke. 29-year-old DeMonte Rashad Mack and 19-year-old Trayvon Raycron Casey have been charged with the aid of racketeering, among other charges. Those charges are related to the June 2017 of 17-year-old Nicholas Lee, who had just graduated from Patrick Henry High School, and this February of 23-year-old Markel Gertie, a father of 2. The other suspected Rollin' 30s members, 27-year-old Sean Denzel Garant and 24-year-old Chauncey Dion Levacy, have each been charged with racketeering conspiracy.
The indictment involves 4 suspected members of the Rolling 30s gang in Roanoke who were charged with various crimes, including racketeering conspiracy and conspiracy to commit deletion. The Rolling 30s Crips, also referred to as the Rolling 30s or Dirt Gang, is a national street gang that originated in Los Angeles, California, and has spread to other cities, including Roanoke, Virginia. The Roanoke chapter of the Rolling 30s primarily operated in Northwest Roanoke, particularly in the Lansdowne neighborhood. According to the indictment, beginning as early as April 22, 2017, Garant, Mack, Casey, Levacy, and others conspired to engage in a pattern of racketeering activities involving multiple threats and acts of violence. The indictment specifically alleges that on June 14-15, 2017, the defendants conspired to commit the deletion of Marco, Trev, and Gertie. Additionally, the indictment claims that Mack, Casey, and Levacy carried out the deletion of Nicholas Nathaniel Lee under the direction of Garrett. 9 of the 12 Hoover Crips members arrested during a multi-agency raid in Ardmore faced serious charges. Each member was given a $300,000 bond, with the condition that any release would require wearing an ankle monitor. The group was charged with conspiracy to violate Oklahoma's Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO. This felony charge alleged that they, along with other co-conspirators, both known and unknown, conspired as members of the Hoover Crips gang of Ardmore to violate racketeering laws by participating in organized criminal activity. The indictment detailed the structure and initiation process of the Hoover Crips gang. Prospective members are required to put in work by committing various crimes before being initiated into the gang. These crimes typically include assault, witness intimidation, drug distribution, drive-by shootings, possession of firearms during the commission of felonies, armed robbery, and burglary. Once deemed eligible, new recruits undergo a violent initiation ritual known as being jumped in, where several existing gang members physically assault them to test their toughness and commitment. After initiation, members are expected to continue engaging in criminal activities to acquire weapons, defend the gang, and further its reputation. The gang's violent reputation serves to intimidate other gangs in the local community, making witnesses less likely to cooperate with law enforcement or testify in court. Failure to participate in criminal activity or follow gang orders results in internal discipline, known as court. Senior members of the gang preside over these sessions, where disobedient members face physical punishment, loss of status, or expulsion from the gang. Maintaining a strict code of silence is also mandatory, and members are expected not to cooperate with law enforcement, even when they are victims of crimes. In such cases, the gang handles revenge internally. The documents also revealed that senior Hoover Crips members routinely examine court records from Carter County to identify individuals who might be cooperating with authorities.
Police say all 8 men are Hoover Crip gang members, and they robbed banks, pharmacies, and credit unions, including the largest bank heist in Tulsa history. Investigators say they were organized, professional takeover-type robberies that were always dangerous.
Last September's robbery of this Tulsa Municipal Employees Federal Credit Union was the largest in Tulsa's history when the suspects made off with $170,000. The men went in wearing masks, carrying guns, shouting orders, jumping over the counter, even fired a shot near a teller that broke a glass partition before they headed for the vault. Police say a combination of 8 different Hoover Crip gang members had been robbing Tulsa businesses since 2009. But all that has now come to an end. All 8 men are now behind bars and facing federal indictment. Police say the robberies often involve 2, 3, or 4 of the gang members at a time. They say they robbed the IBC Bank at 42nd and South Garnett in August of 2009, as well as the Dooley Pharmacy in West Tulsa in February of 2010. And the T. Roy Barnes Pharmacy, the Metro Pharmacy, both times using stolen cars as their getaways, always demanding not just money, but also drugs. And finally, they say the men robbed the Arvest Bank at 218 South Memorial in November of last year. Robbery detectives say they haven't seen anything like this crew in decades.
Tulsa police have arrested 8 gang members accused of carrying out a series of highly violent robberies. The arrests come after a year-long investigation involving the Tulsa Police Robbery Unit, the FBI, and the Northern Oklahoma Violent Fugitive Task Force. Authorities confirmed that all 8 men are affiliated with the Hoover Crips gang and have been involved in robbing banks, pharmacies, and credit unions. Their string of crimes includes the largest bank robbery in Tulsa's history. Investigators described the robberies as highly organized and dangerous, resembling professional takeover operations. One of the most significant heists occurred last September at the Tulsa Municipal Employees Federal Credit Union, where the suspects stole $170,000, marking the largest robbery in the city's history. During the raid, the masked men, armed with guns, stormed the building, issued threats, and even fired a shot that shattered a glass partition near a teller before they accessed the vault. In September 2011, a related incident saw a thief firing a shot during the robbery of a Tulsa credit union. According to law enforcement, the 8 Hoover Crip members have been terrorizing businesses across Tulsa since 2009, but their crime spree has now come to an end with their arrests and federal indictments. "This is a great day for the people of Tulsa," said Sergeant Brandon Watkins of the Tulsa Police Department. These individuals have been extremely active since 2009, committing numerous violent robberies. Police noted that the robberies often involved 2 to 4 gang members working
The
together.
107 Hoover Crips street gang. Jennifer, these 4 men are no strangers to the Justice Department. Law enforcement agencies are hoping this will finally be the thing that helps keep these men off the streets. Laurel Battle, his cousin Paul Battle, Thomas Jackson, and Gaywan Blades are all charged with conspiring to distribute. According to the indictment, they would use apartments near 61st and Peoria as houses. The gang members had an extensive operation. 2 are also charged with using guns while trafficking. These men are Hoover Crips gang members and have a lengthy criminal history with Tulsa police.
These people have been on the radar. They go to the penitentiary, get out, and continue to do the same things that they were doing before. We attempt to work them even.
Veteran TPD Sergeant Sean Larkin says he's been chasing Laurel since he started working with the department. In fact, Laurel was once charged with it was dismissed after a witness failed to show up to court.
To finally, I guess, since him get his due day in court and on something I think is a really solid case, I mean, I'm really glad to see it.
A federal grand jury has indicted 4 members of the Tulsa-based 107 Hoover Crips street gang on charges of trafficking large amounts of drugs. These gang members, all well known to the Justice Department, are at the center of an investigation that law enforcement hopes will finally keep them off the streets. According to the indictment, they used apartments near 61st and Peoria as drug houses to run their extensive drug operation. The fact that they back up their drug sales with violence makes these individuals the kind of people you have to get off the streets, said U.S. Attorney Danny Williams. The indicted men have a long history of criminal activity in Tulsa, with ties to violent crimes. They're involved in everything you can imagine, from drug dealing to robberies, burglaries, stolen cars, homicides, and shootings with intent to delete, said Sergeant Sean Larkin of the Tulsa Police Gang Unit. 3 of the men have previously served prison sentences for drug-related offenses. They go to prison, get out, and go right back to the same criminal activities. Sergeant Larkin, who has been tracking Laurel Battle for years, noted that Battle was previously charged with deletion, but the case was dismissed when a key witness failed to appear in court.
The Crips, 10 of them are accused of 10 number of shootings. The U.S. Attorney announced Wednesday indictments on 10 alleged members of the 8 Trey Gangster Crips, all now in custody, who investigators say are responsible for more than a decade of crime in Baltimore City. The FBI said the ETG, led by Trayvon Hall, terrorized the neighborhoods in which they operated.
One of the defendants said that the people who lived in one of the neighborhoods were too scared to come outside anymore. We cannot and must not accept this.
Feds say the ETG Crips controlled the drug trade in at least 3 parts of their city. Their headquarters at Baltimore and Hilton, on the other side of town at Sinclair and Frankfort, and here near Poe Homes at Lexington and Fremont, where one of the murders in the indictment happened. In 2016, federal authorities say they opened fire on a rival gang, Shaheem Brown, and wounding 2 others. The ETG.
10 alleged members of the 8 Trey Gangster Crips, a violent gang operating in Baltimore, have been indicted by a federal grand jury on charges that include racketeering, drug conspiracies, deletions, assaults, robbery, witness intimidation, and related firearm offenses. Of the 10, 6 were arrested following the unsealing of the indictment, while 4 were already in custody. The 8 Trey Gangster Crips, a subset of the larger Crip gang, operated both on the streets of Baltimore and in Maryland correctional facilities. The gang controlled the drug trade in several areas of the city, including the Baltimore Hilton neighborhood near West Baltimore and South Hilton Streets, the Lexington Terrace neighborhood near West Lexington Street and North Fremont Avenue, and the Frankfort Sinclair neighborhood in North Baltimore. These areas became strongholds for the gang, where they engaged in violent activities to maintain control and intimidate rivals. Jennifer C. Boone, special agent in charge of the FBI's Baltimore field office, highlighted the gang's tactics, stating, "Members of the ETG Crips used violence as their calling card, flooding the streets with fear while trying to tear down our neighborhoods. We cannot let them get away with it." Originating in Los Angeles in the 1970s, the ETG Crips eventually expanded across the country, reaching Maryland in the 2000s. In Baltimore, 2 factions of the gang emerged, the Back West TG Crips and the Nutty North Side TG Crips. The 12-count indictment alleges that from at least 2008, the defendants participated in a racketeering conspiracy linked to their gang activities. Trayvon Hall, referred to as a G in the gang, was identified as the acting leader of the Back West TG Crips in Baltimore. In 2013, Hall flew to California to seek approval from West Coast leaders to officially establish the Back West TG Crips set in Baltimore. The indictment details how the ETG Crips operated street-level drug distribution shops in Baltimore. Non-members who attempted to sell drugs in their territory were met with violence from ETG Crips members. Their primary drug shops were located in their strongholds of the Baltimore Hilton, Lexington Terrace, and Frankfurt Sinclair neighborhoods. The gang frequently used social media to stake claims to their territories and to intimidate rivals. They posted photographs and rap videos flaunting firearms and threatening to delete anyone who stood in their way. According to the indictment, in 2016, the ETG Crips conspired to delete members of the rival Black Guerrilla Family BGF gang, which controlled a rival drug shop in the Lexington Terrace neighborhood. In June 2016, the gang attempted to delete 2 BGF members but mistakenly shot 2 other individuals. In July of that year, Hall allegedly deleted BGF member Albert Pittman, followed by another deletion of BGF member Shy Hunt Brown in November 2016, where 2 others were wounded in the attack. The indictment further claims that Hall boasted about the deletions in text messages to an unindicted co-conspirator, stating that he had juice-bashed the monkeys. Additionally, the ETG Crips were involved in a conspiracy to delete members of the Abington Avenue drug trafficking organization between 2017 and 2019, during which time 2 members of the organization were allegedly deleted by ETG Crips members. Throughout their operations, the gang used fear and violence to maintain control over their territories, often silencing witnesses who could testify against them. Attorney Herr explained, the ETG Crips defended their turf, meaning they didn't let anyone else sell drugs in their territories. Boone further emphasized the gang's impact on the community, stating, one of the defendants said that the people who lived in one of the neighborhoods were too scared to come outside anymore.
U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Arizona has announced the indictment of 22 individuals following a federal grand jury's return of a 70-count indictment. These individuals are accused of participating in a large-scale drug trafficking and firearms operation in South Phoenix. The charges include conspiracy to distribute and possession with intent to distribute both substances. Additional charges include illegal possession of firearms, with 8 defendants accused of being felons in possession of firearms. The investigation began in January 2020 when the Arizona Department of Public Safety identified a drug and firearms supplier in South Phoenix. In February 2021, the FBI's Violent Street Gang Task Force joined the effort, focusing on the Lindo Park Crips, a street gang involved in drug trafficking and illegal firearms activity. Over the course of the investigation, law enforcement officials seized substantial amounts of illegal substances and firearms, including 2,430 grams, 35,000 counterfeit pills suspected to contain fentanyl, 8 Glock conversion devices, and 17 firearms. In June 2022, law enforcement executed over a dozen search warrants, leading to the seizure of additional ammunition, narcotics, and 62 firearms. The charges carry significant penalties. By dismantling operations like those of the Lindo Park Crips, authorities aim to reduce the distribution of deadly drugs, such as fentanyl, and prevent the proliferation of illegal firearms in the community.
Tonight at 10, a major gang bust going down in the metro area. 24 people arrested, 1 still on the run.
Authorities say most of these people are either Rolling 60s gang members or had connections to the gang. The investigation by Aurora Police, the FBI, and the DA's office started in 2012 following a spike in violent crimes in Aurora. Police are still not saying much about today's raid. We do know that it happened in both the Denver and Aurora areas with the assistance of local agencies. Again, they're still looking for this man. They say that if you see him, don't approach him. He is considered dangerous.
Yesterday morning, law enforcement officers from the Aurora Police Department and various agencies across the Denver metro area arrested 24 men and women following a 2-year investigation into the Rollin 60s, a street gang in Aurora with roots tracing back to Los Angeles. Below is a list of those taken into custody, as well as details about the allegations that led to a 73-count indictment. The investigation began 2 years ago when Aurora police noted an increase in violent crimes, including gang-on-gang violence, robberies, and menacing. These incidents were linked to the Rolling 60s, a gang that originated as a splinter group of the West Side Crips in Los Angeles during the 1970s and expanded to Aurora in the following decade. The charges in the indictment range from theft and failure to remain at the scene of an accident causing serious bodily injury to attempted first-degree deletion.